What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Loop, a podcast by Mosaic Church. Today, we're going to be discussing a brand new series called Who Does That? This series is going to begin this week here at the church. And as always, I'm joined by our lead pastor, Brandon Connor, and we're glad that you're watching today. So stick around. We've got a great episode planned for you. Lots more to come.
You're listening to The Loop, a podcast by Mosaic Church. The goal? To know Jesus a little better so we can live like him a little more. And now, here's today's host, Wes Feldner.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Loop. Thanks for joining us. My name's Wes. I'm the creative arts pastor here at Mosaic, and I've got Brandon Connor, our lead pastor.
What's up, everybody?
Yes, and we're here today to talk about a brand new series we've got coming up here at the church. But first, before we jump in, B, we've got to talk about Easter. Man, it was awesome. Hey, what were some of your favorite moments from this past weekend?
The message, of course. No, I'm teasing.
Right, it was incredible.
No.
Communicator, he's great.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell the same story every year. You know,
the message was good.
It up. Okay,
it was great.
I hope so. I hope so. You know, we really did try to, camp on the subject of love and just help people understand the power of love.
Yep. Love like no other.
Absolutely. But, I think the best moment in the service for me was that opener. I think there's something about, the power of music that comes together with the power of a visual element. And it brought me to tears.
It was
and
cool.
So, even before the Easter service, it was like, man, when I would watch that thing, it was like I would tear up a little bit because it was just so powerful. And
great.
So just hope that people enjoyed all the work that you guys put into that creative opener and got us going in the right direction as we just really started to think together about the love that Jesus displayed for us when he died on the cross.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love the Easter season at our church. I love it anyway because we get to meet all kinds of people that, from our community that don't normally attend church. And so it's just happening here.
It is. It's just that time of the year when you've got an opportunity to meet new people and help them see that, man, Mosaic really can be a place that gives you an opportunity to really explore the claims of Christianity, really see what God has to offer for your life, and, maybe try a place that, is something that is unexpected, maybe something that you never really dreamed it could add that kind of value to your life, and then maybe it becomes a new pattern or a new regular rhythm in your life. That's always my hope at Easter.
Yeah. Well, our hope is that you had a great time at Easter. Maybe you were here for the first time. Maybe you came with a family member or a friend you were invited to attend with them. Or maybe you're a regular here at Mosaic and you haven't been to church in a while.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason is, we're glad that you are here, and we hope that you come back. And that's why we're talking about this new series here. We're trying to give you a preview of what's coming up. And so we're here today to talk about this new series following Easter called Who Does That? That's an interesting phrase, and you see it on social media all over the place. Like, who does that?
Yeah. Thankfully, my kids keep me somewhat culturally relevant, and so, they're in that teenage world. And so, one of the things that you hear from young people, one of the things that you see a lot on social media is this phrase, who does that? And it's usually in response to something that you kind of look at it and you think, that's a little strange. Like, not many people do that.
Yeah.
And so it's a response to something that you see that kind of catches you off guard.
Who does that? Like, what kind of things? Like, give us some examples. Like, who does that?
So let's just kind of roll through a few. How about socks and sandals?
Yeah. How about jeans at the gym? Like, who works out in jeans?
Are they jeans? Are they jeans or jorts?
No, jorts would be just as bad. But I've seen it.
Yeah.
Guys at the gym, and they're on the elliptical with their jeans, and it's like, dude, just go throw some shorts on or something. Yeah. Like, that's got to be, I don't know if it, like, extra sweat factor.
That can't be comfortable.
It's no good.
How about a spoiler on the back of a Dodge Neon?
Who does that?
Who does that?
Who does that? How about, okay, this one may get me in trouble with my wife, but I'm going to see if anybody is with me on this.
I'm nervous about where you're going.
Mayonnaise with French fries.
Who does that?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not a mayonnaise guy, period, but it's definitely not going on my French fries.
All right. I know some anti-mayonnaise people here at the church as well.
So I used to have a friend named Derek, and he would pee in the shower. What about that?
Who does that?
To be fair, I don't know if he actually peed in the shower, if he just thought that it was okay, but it always reminded me of a Seinfeld episode where George is like, it's all pipes and plumbing. Like, what's it matter? And there was this big controversy, but you hear stuff like that and you just go, who does that?
Who does that? Yeah. So this is a great phrase, and it's the title of our next series. So excited about that. So since January, we've been studying the book of John. So talk to us a little bit about where we are in the text now, post Easter, and why are we calling this series Who Does That?
Yeah, through John chapter 5, Jesus has kind of got his ministry off the ground, talks about why Jesus even came into the world. Then, you get into like John chapter 4 and 5, and there was a lot of conversation in that series called I Believe about, what were some of the radical claims that Jesus made, either about the way we do life or what were some of the radical claims that Jesus made about himself.
Yeah.
And so talked a lot about what should we believe, but now we're kind of pivoting and we're looking at some of the radical things that Jesus did.
Yeah.
And honestly, like that's why I love the title of the series, is because I think that if Jesus were alive on the earth today, and I think that if he were doing the same things today that he was doing back then, I think people would look at that and go, who does that?
Who does that?
I really believe that would be probably the most common response.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of those crazy things, maybe those tweetable or Instagrammable moments from Jesus's life or his ministry that people would be saying, hey, who does that? I mean, one that comes to mind for me would be like feeding the 5,000. Like, who does that?
Exactly.
Like what else? What are some of these other things?
So, in John chapter 6, we're actually going to see a story where Jesus tells people to eat his flesh and drink his blood.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, it's one of those moments when massive numbers of people end up walking away from Jesus because they're like, who does that? Like, this guy might be a little bit out there for me. Yep. And so they walk away when they see things like that.
Yeah. You make a great point. So from what you've mentioned to me already about this series, it's not just about the crazy stuff that Jesus does, because this is stuff that he's like calling us to do. Like you just said in that example, like this is stuff that he's calling us to do. So like talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think it's important for Christians to understand that while there's probably a desire in every one of us to be accepted in society, we want to be loved, we want to fit in, the truth is we don't fit in.
Yeah.
We don't belong here. I mean, Scripture tells us that earth is not our home. Heaven is our home, that we're just aliens who are here living in a foreign land. And I think that the human struggle for those who are followers of Jesus is that struggle between, am I going to live my life trying to fit into the culture where I live, or am I going to live my life just being and doing what Jesus calls me to be and what Jesus calls me to do?
Yeah.
And so when you look at the way of Jesus, like the way of Jesus probably would lead people to look at us in the Christian community and go, who does that? Like the way of Jesus says, man, you're supposed to forgive people. Who does that?
Yeah.
The way of Jesus says you're supposed to be generous to people. Who does that? The way of Jesus says, man, you're supposed to practice love and you're supposed to show grace. Who does that?
Yeah.
You know, the way of Jesus calls us to spend our time serving others rather than always trying to gratify ourselves. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
The way of Jesus says, man, don't live for the weekend, live in light of eternity. Who does that?
Yeah.
Like the way of Jesus really is so countercultural that I think it's one of those things it's hard to live out because we don't want people looking at us like we're freaks.
Yeah.
We don't want people looking at us going, who does that? And kind of become the butt of every joke or kind of looked down upon. And yet what I would say is that the way of Jesus is not just different, the way of Jesus is radically better. And I think until we really understand that, it's hard for us to embrace this alternative lifestyle that is almost the antithesis of what our culture tells us we should be doing. It's so countercultural.
Yeah. And so like the answer to the question, obviously, who does that is Jesus does that. And that's what he's calling us to as his followers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, Jesus does some radical things, but followers of Jesus also do some radical countercultural things. Yeah. And so this is really what the series is about, and it's just digging in and looking at some of those things that Jesus did and then understanding what that requires of us if we are followers of Jesus.
Yeah. So it sounds like this series is going to be very eye-opening and challenging, like the whole gamut.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's good for people who are followers of Jesus.
Right.
And then I do hope that it's also good for people who are not followers of Jesus, because what I want to do each week is I want to create this moment at the end of every service where we talk about what if.
Yeah.
Like, what if we exchanged the cultural way of life for this
Absolutely.
countercultural way of life? Do you really think that the world would be a better place if we made that exchange? Because I think it would.
Yeah.
And I think most people, they would agree if they really take the time to look at the way Jesus lived and say, man, what if everybody lived life like that? I do think relationships would be better. I think the world would be better. And so I hope it's one of those things. It's not just good for people who are already followers of Jesus. I hope it's helpful for people who are not yet followers of Jesus that are really considering, do you really follow Jesus with your life or not? And what would the world be like? What would my life be like if I made that exchange?
That's great. Yeah, that was going to be my question. Like, we talk in these episodes so much about like who our series are designed for, and it sounds like this one is going to be one that's going to hit lots of people, no matter where they are on the spectrum.
Yep, it really is, because I think it's going to dig into the why. It's going to help a person who may already be looking at Christians going, who does that? And they just think, man, that's so stupid. That once they understand why, that they might go, wow, that makes all the sense in the world. And that's not just different, that's actually better.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love it. I love it. All right, so any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Well, as always, I encourage people to go ahead and read. So start reading John chapter 6, and don't be scared. I mean, Jesus is going to do some radical things, and we're going to unpack those things and try to help you make sense of those. But go ahead and start reading and start thinking to yourself, who does that? And the answer probably is, I need to do that, because that's what Jesus did with his life.
There you go. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, don't forget the Who Does That series will start this weekend. We'll see you here Thursday at 7 o'clock or Sunday at 9:30 and 11. And be sure to share this episode with family and friends. Like Brandon said, this is going to be a great series for anybody, no matter where they are in regards to faith or anything like that. So bring your friends, bring your family, coworkers, neighbors, all of that. And we'll see you this weekend as we kick off the Who Does That series. Thanks so much for being here with us today for this episode of The Loop. We hope you guys have an incredible week.
You've been listening to The Loop, a podcast by Mosaic Church. For more information, visit us online at mosaicgc.com.